I am sorry not to be in the pulpit for this particular sermon, but you'll see why in just a second. I don't know how many of you have been around in the Episcopal Church, but the Episcopal Church is quite broad, actually. There are some Episcopal churches that are so Protestant that they out-Presbyterian the Presbyterians. There are others that are so Catholic seeming that you could suffocate on the smoke from the incense. There are some Episcopal churches where it's all about this. And there are some where we do minor pew aerobics. We kneel and sit and stand. But we don't genuflect as we come in. I have actually participated in that whole range of things. But as it happened in seminary, I did my field education at an Anglo-Catholic congregation. The place was filled with smells and with bells, and they really believed that our postures of prayer and the postures of our body, because we are an incarnate people, and that's the way God chooses to be, is in flesh, means something. And as a result of that, there was a lot of bowing and bending and such as that. It came to Good Friday, though, and I will tell you that I had seen something that I had never seen before, and I am going to demonstrate for you just what it was. The whole altar party, dressed in black, came out and did this. Before the altar. It's a dramatic moment, don't you think? What does that gesture say to you? What?
I surrender.
I surrender. I surrender. And coming as it does in front of the altar and the cross on Good Friday, I surrender is a big deal. I surrender. It's a tremendously vulnerable pose. Tremendously vulnerable. Beth Moore had us doing it in a Bible study once, and most people couldn't do it. Most people had a hard time doing it every day, this pose of surrender, because it is vulnerable. What you need to know is the word that is used for pay him homage or worship is a word that meant that. That meant being prostrate before the Lord. So these people come from far away to surrender themselves to a baby. Wow. To give themselves to a baby, to worship a baby. In order to do that, which is also, just as it happens to be, the kind of position that people in feudal states used to swear their allegiance and loyalty. So it's not just surrender, but it is also an ongoing promise of commitment. You have to trust the person who basically you're offering your allegiance to. You have to trust them a lot. Because in those days, it wouldn't take much to take out someone who was lying on the floor like that. Actually, in these days, there is an awful lot of trust in that. So we have wise people. Wise people. We do not know that there were three. We do not know that they were only men. Because Greek is like Spanish. You know, those masculine plurals include women. So we have these wise people who have come seeking out someone worthy of their trust, worthy of their worship, worthy. There's a lot of scurrying about in this story, and you can get the wise men coming and going, you can get Herod coming and going, you can even get the star coming and going, but smack dab at the center of this story is the baby Jesus, who is the one and only person who is worthy of that kind of trust. It seems to me that the whole history of humankind, the whole history of it, certainly biblically, has been the story of the fact that human beings insist on worshiping the wrong person or thing. Worshiping the wrong person or thing. Throughout the history of the Old Testament, the Israelites threw their lot in with various and sundry kings and various and sundry gods that were not God, and invariably it ended up badly. There is only one person that is worthy of worship. One God worthy of our trust. Now, it seems to me that these days most people don't particularly worship other out-and-out gods. But we do fall prey to trusting in things that are not worth our trust. You know, we can go with the let's have money and power. That's always a good one, right? Money and power. We can go esteem and prestige. We can go knowledge. We can go the addictive substances that take the edge off. We can trust in all sorts of people and things that are not worthy. That are not worthy. So I was thinking, well, how do you know the difference between the one who, how can you tell if it's worthy or not? Because these wise people, they'd been searching clearly. They'd been watching. How do you know? I think the Old Testament prophecy for today gives us a good hint. What's the first words? Arise, shine. Arise, shine. The difference between God and all those other false gods out there is that all those other false gods out there want you to stay where you are. They want you to continue whatever pattern of behavior you've got going. They do not want you to grow and change. They do not want you to shine. They want to keep their foot on your neck. Whether that is in the form of a manipulative relationship or enslavement to ways of being that just hurt you, body and soul. When God shines God's light, it makes perfect sense, yes, to pay homage, to surrender. But that's the beginning of the story. It is not the end. Arise, shine. After that surrender, God is inviting us into what God is doing. What God is doing, not just for us, but for the world. God is saying, come, go, shine with my own radiance. The difference between a false God and the true God is so abundant that the true God doesn't worry about spreading the glory around. False gods do. Every single time. Arise, shine, for the glory of the Lord is being revealed. You know, I don't know where God is calling us. But I know that God has invited us who have surrendered ourselves to that light, to something marvelous. To feed the hungry, to proclaim freedom to those who are captive, to console those who are mourning, to be the light in the darkness, to be messengers of peace and good news in a world that is crying for it. Arise, shine, because the glory of our Lord has been shared upon us, and we worship the one who is worthy of our trust.